Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Welcome to Inside Addiction. Not one thing works for everyone. That's why I think it is important to get the information out and give people choices to make their own decisions by educating, inspiring, and empowering. My objective from day one was to educate people about addiction and recovery and help as many people as I possibly could. Today, we're joined by the staff from the St. Jude's Retreat in the Baldwin Institute in beautiful upstate New York, who offer a different approach than the traditional and conventional treatment of substance abuse. More than 90% of substance abuse treatment programs in the country, including 12-step programs, are based on the medical disease concept of treatment. Unfortunately, the success rate of most treatment programs are around 20%. St. Jude's reports a 62% success rate with what they refer to as a freedom model. Now you know why I had to come here. So I want to introduce the staff of St. Jude's Retreat and the Baldwin Research Institute. I want to start with the Executive Director of St. Jude's and the Baldwin Research Institute. I want to welcome Michelle to the show.
Thank you.
So Michelle, tell me a little bit about yourself, your connection, if any, personally with addiction and recovery on a personal level, how you got involved with St. Jude's, and about your program overall, and more specifically, what is a social educational program?
That's a lot of questions. Initially, I had a substance abuse problem when I was a teenager going into college. I failed out of college after 3 years and due to substance abuse. And but I was at the time a psychology major in college, and I learned about addiction, and I learned about the disease of addiction, and that I was basically doomed to a lifetime of struggle and relapse. I was fortunate to have my dad had been sober, and at the time we called it, in recovery for about 10 years, and he had started a research project called the Baldwin Research Project of 1990. So now you know how old I am. I was in college in 1989, and he told me that addiction was not a disease and that I could change my life forever if I wanted to. It was simply a choice that I had to make. And I told him he was wrong, and that I had learned that I had the disease of addiction and alcoholism, and that I was, I had to go to meetings. So that's what I did. I went to AA meetings. At the time, these guys, my dad and some guys that he was trying to help who were part of the research project, were also going to meetings. My dad and I had not a great relationship. It was very strange, so I had my own little group of people. But the guys that he had were nice and happy, and I was intrigued by the fact that they didn't seem like everybody else at the meetings. They just seemed like they had a new lease on life, and they were most of them were younger than I was. I was 22 at the time. And I after 3 months of not drinking and going to meetings, I decided that that was not the life for me. And I was going to give what they were doing a try. And I've never looked back. I mean, I really did put the lifestyle of drinking and drug using behind me, and became a volunteer. Out of all the people that were in the research project, I was only one of 2 women. The other one, don't know where she is today, but she was not one of the success stories. But the majority of us are sober and drug-free. More than 75% of us are.
Wow.
So, and I think back then, a lot of what we did, what changed us was just the notion that we were okay. That we could be okay, that we could grow up. All I wanted to be was normal. And
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to, go to work in the morning, come home at night, have a decent relationship where it wasn't abusive, because that's part of that lifestyle, and that's pretty much, that was it. I wanted to be able to be happy, not having a life filled with chaos, and I learned how to do that. I did, and over the years, I've gone back to school. I've gotten married. I've been married to the same man, believe it or not, for 16, 17 years this year. They asked me to come work at Baldwin Research in 2002. Officially, I had a career of my own, and they wanted me to help them with some filing and different things. I was a legal secretary at the time, and before I knew it, I was on the phones helping people. I had worked with pretty much every woman that came through the house up until that point in time on a volunteer basis, and we just kept pushing the company forward. And we really, in 2002, I think we by the time I came here, they had blossomed, and the house was always full. We always had a waiting list. There were literally people beating down our doors to get here.
Yeah.
We're also joined by Mark Sharon, chairman of St. Jude's. Mark, tell us what makes St. Jude's different.
Well, when we first started, it was interesting because when we started the research, we had decided we're going to just make it so that we tell people they're okay. And that was different than every other treatment facility in the country. If you teach people that they're okay, we had decided that we were going to see what the result of that was.
True.
And consequently, people did really well. And that was the first thing. That was
That organ. The main difference between what we do and what the majority of treatment programs out there do is we teach people that they have a choice. That ultimately, and a lot of times what people say to me on the phone when I say, there is no disease where you are unable to make different choices in life. There's no disease that controls voluntary behavior. Their first response is usually, well, there must be, because, my father can't stop. I watch him try to stop drinking, and he can't seem to stop drinking. And what I usually say is, but he does stop drinking. There are periods of time when he does stop drinking. And so ultimately, there's something else going on here. So if it's not a disease, then what is it? Well, it's a habit. And like all habits, people have the power to change them.
Absolutely.
It's not easy. And we don't minimize it. We don't say to people, this isn't a very serious problem. But what we do say is you have control. You're the only one that has control over this problem. And you are the only one that can change the way you think, the way you view the world, the way you fit into the world. These are all the things that we address in our program, as well as underlying emotional problems that people might have, whether or not they started before the problem with substance abuse or after it as a result of it. Almost makes no difference. We can help people to overcome that.
So it gives people the power to change their choices.
Yes.
And also take ownership for their choices.
Yes.
And choose different things.
Yes. Choose different behaviors. Choose a different lifestyle altogether.
What is a day like at St. Jude's?
A weekday and a weekend day are a little bit different. The weekdays usually start with a voluntary trip to the health club. Everybody gets a membership to a local health club when they're in our program.
Okay.
We provide transportation for them. And they can work out for an hour. They can go hang out for an hour if they want to, just to be at the gym. And they have the opportunity to meet with, a fitness instructor if they want to. We can help set that up for them. They're there for about an hour. That's usually early in the morning. I say 7 o'clock. Some people are much earlier than that. But for a lot of our guests, that's early in the morning. They come back and they can have time to shower. They can have breakfast made to order for them if they want by our chef. And then they're in class for about an hour in the morning. And the class is the Jude Thaddeus program. We have I should have brought it in with me. We have a workbook and a textbook, and they go through a chapter in the morning. It's very small, personalized classes, usually 2 to 3 people per class, per instructor. Yeah, so they have time to interact in the class. We don't rush people through the chapter. If people want to, we usually have them read it out loud, even if they've already read it. It's actually part of what we do is very repetitive. And then They have opportunity to work. It really goes through the first probably week of our curriculum is talking about what is substance abuse. If it's not an addiction, what is it? Sure. Where is the research that shows that there's not a disease that's controlling my behavior? And it really educates people about.
And it also depends on the guest. Sometimes
Yes.
you have a young person with no life experience at
Sure.
all,
Yeah.
and then you have people you might have a doctor who's in his 70s, and so you have to differentiate a lot of the education and how you teach the person. So it can be a challenge if you have a doctor and an adolescent in the same class, but at the same time, it's beneficial to both.
Absolutely.
Because you have that social portion that helps. You have the doctor being humbled by the young person taught by the older person, and there's a dynamic that can really benefit both. So the social aspect is just as important as what they're being taught.
That's true.
So you have all sorts of different topics. You have everything from I'm going through a divorce to I don't know what I'm going to do when I go to college.
So this is real life stuff.
It's all about life. It has very little to do with addiction, because addiction really doesn't exist.
Right.
What it is people have choices, and they make habitual choices. They get locked into those habitual choices because they don't believe they can get out of them. So what we do is we provide life options at every road. So they go through a 3-phase process. They're going to learn first about their past. They're going to write an autobiography. They're going to delve into every aspect of what it is that is negative in their life, as well as positive, which is very different from conventional treatment. So we'll spend
a lot of times it's negative,
Right.
which just continues to almost beat down the person.
Yeah, it becomes oppressive.
Yeah.
It becomes oppressive. Why am I so different? Why am I so different? When in reality, you're not different. You're just a human being who struggles like the rest of us.
Exactly.
Which is different. And people are really appreciative when they realize, first of all, they're not sick. They're just struggling. They don't have options. They don't know which direction to move into in their life at that given point. You might have somebody who's 17 years old who says, I am just terrified to move forward. I don't know how to be an adult. I don't want to be an adult, so I'm going to shoot heroin because it's easy. It's what I know. But what's surprising is, even with a young person, is once you give them options, they take them.
Yeah.
They want to do better. They want to know how to be an adult. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody has that motive. They don't all do perfectly well. It's not this seamless process. Sometimes it's a sticky, difficult, process that people go through when they're with us. But most people really, when they see new options, take them. And so the topics are varied. That's why we spend a year teaching our instructors how to teach this program.
Right.
They have to have a lot of life experience themselves. They're certified through our process, which is brutal. They're gonna learn for a year to 18 months how to instruct, because you have the 16-year-old, the 45-year-old mother who drinks wine every night, or the 50-year-old guy who's in the middle of a midlife crisis. So you have all sorts of different scenarios, and we also have all sorts of different instructors that you can match up.
Right.
So
it's not a cookie cutter approach.
No,
Correct.
it's
It's
anything but
pretty
that.
personalized.
It's very personalized, and it's based on empowerment. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yes. Everybody struggles with different areas of their life. And what our program does is really focuses on helping you see, this is a part of my life I don't like, and this is a part of my life I want to change, and this is exactly how I'm going to change it. So those are really the 3 phases of our program.
Great. Tell me about the success rates.
Right up until a few years ago, twice a year, I want to say a few years ago, now it's been like 6 years ago, twice a year, we would call everybody and see how they were doing. Now, we wouldn't just call them, but we would also call a corroborating witness.
Okay.
And the question was, have you been sober and drug-free for the last 30 days? Period. Because anybody that has maintained sobriety and been drug-free for the last 30 days, number one, probably isn't still struggling. Number two, we have so many data points, and we would call those people so many times, twice a year, that's our success rate. And every time it would range between 55 and 75% would be sober and drug-free. And that wasn't just them telling us that, that was their corroborating witness saying,
Can I-
yeah, they're doing great.
I'm going to jump in here, and that's an important distinction. One of the criticisms of the success rate is, well, you're only looking at 30 days, and that would be true if you were just if you looked at 30 days once and say this is what our
Right.
success rate is. Also, you know, with the independent company calling, you get more accurate information. But
So you can't, what you're saying is you can't manipulate, you don't have the ability to manipulate your numbers.
It's
well, we
binary.
don't. You know, it'd be one thing if the multiple data points is important, because if you have a range that's really high, for instance, if one survey came in at, let's say, 10% were sober
Sure.
for that 30 days,
Right.
and then 6 months later you did one that was 80%, okay? And you could still manipulate the numbers by taking an average, even if
Right.
they're up and
Yeah.
down and up and down. But the
You could-
range...
Automatically now you have 40%.
That's right, woohoo!
Right, but our range is sure. It's actually 58 to one anomaly, which was 82. Most of them are in the mid 70s.
Yes.
So you have, but our range is sure. It's actually 58 to one anomaly, which was 82. Most of them are in the mid 70s.
Yes.
So you have mid 70s to high 50s, and within that range, the data points bounce.
Yep.
Okay, and they have for 17 years.
That's what I was going to ask you.
You
How
know,
long have you, 17 years?
Yes,
17
since
years,
92.
and the last 6 of which was conducted by independent companies. But we're also always updating the book. It's on its 12th edition. I just rewrote the entire book, plus I added 6 chapters on neuroplasticity and some of the things that happen in the brain that proves that human beings can change everything about their life through option presentation, good education, motivation, positive, and you can actually physically change the brain back to a normalized state in doing that. In the next year, we're going to be doing a study where we empty out a house and actually do MRI brain scans, proving that we have physically changed the brains of people through the Jude Retreats program process, which is going to be revolutionary. So, I mean, we're doing some things that nobody would even think of 20 years ago. So it's an exciting time.
Larry Jones, Director of Development. What is the future for St. Jude's?
Well, the overall mission of the parent company, Baldwin Research Institute, is to change the industry to a treatment model that works. And that's it's a very big charge. It's a very big project. And Mark talked about the research that we want to do. That would be a study that would actually show the changes that are possible. And if you look at the available data, you can see that the industry is beginning to be ready for a change. So the future is that we anticipate being able to be in a position to lead the change that we know is coming. And this is a very unique program throughout the country, because if you look at the other organizations that claim to be a non-disease, non-12-step approach, they kind of fall back on a 12-step model, or they fall back on the disease model. You know, we've always operated from the point of view that there is no disease, and people are beginning to respond positively to that. So we're trying to network with people around the country that have the same mindset and have the experience to be able to back that up as well.
And the industry is definitely changing, because for a lot of years, everything was 12-step. I mean, you didn't have any other programs out there. When we came on the scene, we said very simplistically, we are a non-12-step social educational process. And what's happened is the non-12-step model, we coined that phrase. There are alternatives. We have one with verifiable results, and you don't have to be labeled for the rest of your life. You really don't. I mean, you can get on with your life and go to college, go have the career you want, have the relationships you want. You know, the human existence isn't meant to be miserable. It's not meant, we are not on this planet to be uncomfortable, unhappy, sorrowful, suicidal. That's not why we're here. And somehow the treatment industry has decided over the last 70 years that it really is okay to relapse, that it really is okay to be miserable, that you are different and you'll always struggle. That is not true.
It's interesting, Mark. Time and time again, you always hear that relapse is part of recovery.
Yeah,
And that's something that always strikes me at my core, because if people are going to say that, they absolutely need to follow up and say, and more often than not, death can be part of relapse.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I call it, it's part of the dying process, not recovery.
Love it.
Yeah, you know, relapse is part of the
right.
dying process.
Absolutely.
Now you can do that, and we're not even, in our program, we don't hammer people with the idea that you must stay sober, because the truth is, I don't have any control over my guests.
Yeah.
You know, families don't have control over them, you know? The person is taught that they have other options, then they get to choose. And you know what? When people have options, they usually choose the better of the two.
Who has come to St. Jude's? How many people have you served? What walks of life? Who comes to St. Jude's? Who gets helped
Go ahead.
by St. Jude's?
Wow. The range in age has been from, I think, 12 to
78.
78, 12 years
12
old.
years old to 78.
78. Now, do we take 12-year-olds now? We haven't. The youngest I think we've taken in the last few years is probably $15.
Still. 15.
Yes, 15. We do take minors. I find a lot of programs these days don't
Yeah.
take minors. But because we're so personalized, because our program is very, you know, our houses are small, we only have 24 guests, it allows us to really work closely with the families, and when you have a minor, you need to, anybody under the age of 30 years old, you really need to work closely with the families. And a lot of people question, you know, how do you do that kind of cross section? Shouldn't adolescents be all together? Our experience is absolutely not. You really do want that that intergenerational interaction.
Yeah, to go back with like what Mark was saying with the how do you deal with the 17-year-old and the 70-year-old doctor?
Well,
The big piece is the social skills. When people are
Exactly.
in active addiction, that's one of the main things that they lack, and it sounds like you folks teach people
Well,
that.
think about this. Is it natural to have dinner at your house with only your closest siblings? Or do you have it with mom, dad? Where do you learn most of life lessons from the age of when you first have memory till you're 15, 16? At 16, you're not listening anyway. You're out the door already. So and so we have a family style. Our dinners are family style.
Yeah.
All the instructors have dinner and lunch with the guests.
So everybody eats together.
Everybody eats
The
together.
instructors and everyone eat
Everybody.
together.
And we
Yeah.
go once a week. Even the executive staff has lunch at one of the facilities every single week. So the entire company is required to do that.
Great.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, people come from all over the country. We've had people come from Australia. We've had people come from, and for a while there, we were getting like 3 or 4 people from Australia a year,
Yeah, it's very
which was interesting. But marketing has changed, and the internet has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
But we still get calls from Europe. Our home program sells very well overseas. But the majority of people come from the Northeast region of the United States. And then for whatever reason, Florida, Texas, California,
Those are the big ones. The big
and
three.
Alaska, pretty much all walks of life. We do have a scholarship program that helps people who may not be able to pay for the cost of the program. Because we're non-traditional, you know, and we don't work with insurance companies. And because we want to, think about insurance companies, people don't realize is when the minute an insurance company pays for you to go to a drug rehab, you're forever on that list.
Yeah,
and
there's a record kept.
There's a record kept.
that brings me to something else as far as the truly confidential.
Yes.
Yeah, there's.
Is
we
your
have-
treatment truly confidential? Because
Well-
one of the things that really prevents a lot of people,
That's right.
I don't want anybody to know. I want help, but I don't want anybody to know. I am a musician. I am a politician. Recently I've dealt with, I am an attorney in a very
Oh, yeah.
prominent law firm.
Yeah. It's almost like going to the Holiday Inn and getting tennis lessons.
Right.
You go to a bed and breakfast, and then you go through a course on how to rebuild your life, a retreat.
Yes.
And you pay cash and you move on with your life. So it's a completely different approach. That's not to say we're not regulated. We are by the Department of Health, Department of Education, the Charities Bureau, the Attorney General's Charities Bureau, because we're not for profit. So we're still looked at by the right agencies, but but
Just
we're
not treatment.
right, but we're not treatment, you know, and we do not provide detox. So usually when somebody calls from, let's say, California, we use St. Peter's quite a bit, their detox unit, and they've been wonderful. So we use them, or they go to a detox in their state. And we might even set that up for them over the phone or through the internet. You can do some pretty amazing things these days. So you get them physically removed so that it's a safe situation when they get here.
Yes.
So we're actually going to take a look at the retreat house. We're going to
Good.
take a tour. We're going to take a look and see what people can expect when they come in, because I think also that's a huge
Yes.
deterrent for people to receive help.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not an institution. It's a
Absolutely.
beautiful home.
Any closing thoughts before we go and take a look?
No, just enjoy.
All right.
How you doing? My name is Mark. How I found out about St. Jude's was my brother did his research online and found out about St. Jude's. He wanted me to go to a place that I wasn't going to be locked down and I could still have a life and still be able to get help or be at a retreat. We're able to use cell phones here, laptops, and I feel really good about that. I didn't want to feel that I was cut off from everyday life and still be able to get help. The instructors here have been really wonderful. Everybody's really open. Everybody's really easy to talk to. I feel that it's like a big support system. Everybody in the house has been great. All my roommates, everything. The food here has been wonderful. Like I mentioned earlier, everybody was really easy to talk to. The instructors really feel that you know, there's hope. You know, having a problem. You know, it's not easy to get help these days and everything like that. I feel that here will help me and my life to come. So I'm happy here, and I think it really will help me. You know, this program, you know, it tells you that there is choices and you don't have disease. That everything is about choices. Every decision, every day, you have choices in your life. So I feel that this program really will truly help me. That's it.
Well, I've been here for almost 6 weeks now and got a lot out of it. This is a great place to stay. I like the unconventional method, how they just let everybody kind of socialize, do their own thing. You know, there's not a whole lot of pressure. They just do it in the nicest way possible, and it's almost like eventually about halfway through this program you just kind of figure it out for yourself, and if you're not, I mean, it's pretty obvious, and you'll just be out of here in 3 weeks and on your way to doing whatever you want, I guess. And I mean, for anybody who really wants to be clean, I mean, they might not even know they want to be clean really until they're about halfway through this program, and just being around the people that are here and the things that go on and realizing that, you know, there's a lot more out there than smoking pot, doing drugs, whatever it is, drinking. You know, they give you a lot of luxuries here. They give you the freedom, you know, enough freedom to hang yourself too, though, if you want. So, I mean, so we weed out, you know, the people who really just don't need to be here and are just wasting the money. But this was a great opportunity, and, you know, it's definitely totally different. And it feels like a home here. You know, you don't even want to leave after a while. You know, you get so comfortable and used to it. But you know, it just was a great experience, and I feel, you know, totally different. I'm just not even worried about leaving here. I'm almost just excited to go do the things that I've been talking about doing the whole time I've been here, and, you know, it's what a great opportunity. That's it. That's all I got.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm an instructor here at St. Jude Retreat in Hegeman, and the program is very passionate about happiness, success. It's not about the use of drugs or how to stop using drugs. It's based on change of habits. What do I need to succeed? Where is my happiness lie? Self-images are very much incorporated into this program. I've worked here for about 2 years, and I'm very passionate about the program myself. I've used it toward my life, and the people who are able to work here are very successful in the program itself because we have to live the program in order to speak of it, in order to be passionate about it. I've seen so many people change their lives for the better, incorporate happiness and success into their futures that they never thought that it was possible before because of their decisions that they made and the choices that they made in their lives. I love to see people grow.
Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.